The following is a Podcast One Minnesota production.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, you betcha, yeah.
If it's made in Minnesota, who's making it and how?
Yeah, you got that right.
It's the Makers of Minnesota, focusing on the products and services uniquely made in Minnesota, and conversations with the makers, entrepreneurs, and innovators in Minnesota about how they conceived of their products and how they brought them to market. With Stephanie Hansen, it's the Makers of Minnesota.
Hi, this is Stephanie Hansen, and you are listening to The Makers of Minnesota, a podcast that talks to inventors and entrepreneurs in the state of Minnesota that are doing cool things. This is episode number 42. If you listen every week and you like what you're hearing and you want to recommend some makers to us, we're always looking for cool stories. You can find us at Makers of Minnesota on Facebook, Makers of MN on Twitter, and also we are on Instagram. And this week we are with Tony Nelson, who is the inventor of a company called Puzzle Twist. Hi, Tony.
Hi, how you doing?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing good.
So I have to tell you that a guest from a couple of weeks back, Adam Turman, who is a muralist, suggested that I talk to you. He said, he's just doing really cool stuff. So I researched Puzzle Twist. And you are like a master puzzler. How did you start a business in Minnesota making puzzles?
Well, first I want to say thanks to Adam. He's a great guy.
He really is.
And it's a funny story how Adam and I met. Our kids both go to the same elementary school.
Okay.
And somebody suggested to me, hey, Adam's an artist, you should do a puzzle with him. And
sure.
And so I approached him, and he's a great guy to work with. So I appreciate him putting the lead out to you. Anyways, as far as how I got into doing puzzles in Minnesota.
You have a puzzle company.
And it's kind of by accident. The long story is, in 1996, I developed a board game called Cross Crib.
Okay.
And that actually happened on a fishing trip by accident, because we were fishing and we got rained out. And so when it was raining, everybody decided to go into a cabin. It was with a bunch of guys. And I broke out this game that we created, and I said, let's play this game. And everybody's playing it. And the clouds had gone away and the sun had come out, and nobody wanted to go fishing. They wanted to continue to play this game.
Is it like a cross between cribbage and something else?
That's exactly it.
Okay.
It's a takeoff of cribbage, but it's put in a format that can be played with four people, and it's fun.
Okay.
And so I think it was at 2 a.m. or so. Somebody said we should try to market this, and that was in August of 1996. And by November of 1996, we had a game out on the market.
Wow, so your fishing buddies helped you ideate it and get it going?
I was in the advertising industry at the time, so it was a bunch of guys from the agency. So I had a writer there, and I had an art director there.
Lovely.
And so it was a neat collaboration, and it was a lot of fun. Well, in 2006, I got married to my wife, Candace, and she's an avid jigsaw puzzler. So we started doing jigsaw puzzles on a regular pastime activity.
Can I ask why do you think people do jigsaw puzzles?
Oh my gosh, there's so many different reasons why, but the most common one is people say it keeps your mind sharp.
Okay.
But I would say more common that people do it is it's just to relax. It's a nice activity that you can do and kind of think about other things. What I like about it, and what my wife and I like to do, we keep a puzzle table up all the time. And it's nice to sit down at the puzzle table, and you can kind of do something and at the same time hold a conversation. And it feels like you're being more social than as opposed to just sitting down and watching a TV show.
Yeah, or just staring at each other across the table and how was your day today, and one-word answers and...
Yeah, so we're doing this since 2006, and in 2010, I just kind of came up with the idea. Well, this is kind of crazy. We've been spending all this time, because it takes 4 to 8 hours to put a puzzle together.
Yep.
And we know what the image looks like. I said, wouldn't it be more fun if we didn't know exactly what the image looked like? If there are little surprises, like all of a sudden you see something developing and you're not sure what it is, but as you piece it together, it's unveiled, and you have these aha experiences.
Thus the twist,
Thus
a puzzle
the twist. Yeah, and I saw Candace light up, and so I was like, well, maybe we have something here, because she is really the puzzler in the family.
Yep.
And so I actually called the same group that helped me develop Cross Crib, which is still going as a hobby business, and I gave them that idea, and that's kind of how it was born, I guess.
So you got the old gang back together.
Got the old gang back together, and actually, so one of the first phone calls I made was to an local artist here named Nancy Carney, and she had an image of Minneapolis that I just loved, and I wanted to see if we could do a puzzle with that image, but I was really nervous about calling her, because artists oftentimes are kind of particular about their art, and I'm going to ask her, can we mess with your art and make the box cover different than the puzzle? And so I called her up, and I explained the whole concept, and I said, but we want to make the box cover different than the puzzle, and so we're going to change your art and make some changes. And there's dead silence, and I was like, oh no. And then she said, Tony, I love that idea. And she started throwing out ideas, and she goes, we could make it snow. And so that's like one of the twists. When you're doing the puzzle, you'll see this beautiful scene of Minneapolis on the box cover. And when you pour out all the pieces of the puzzle, you'll see little white dots over every piece. It's snowing in Minneapolis where it's not on the box cover. And so
that's cool.
Yeah. It's fun.
Everything has a little twist to it.
So, and you don't know, because there's no, all you know is that the box cover says that there's going to be a twist, but you don't know what that twist is going to be until you actually put the puzzle together.
So you find an artist and you license some art. Then how hard is it? Like, where do you print these things? Do you print them in China? Do you print them at a printing press in Minnesota? How hard is it to find someone to print them?
Well, and that was a challenge. We because we wanted to have high quality. The printing isn't so much the problem. The problem was finding somebody that actually had the die cut to cut a puzzle, and then was also using puzzle board at the quality that we wanted it.
Yep.
And we wanted to do everything in Minnesota, because we're working with artists from Minnesota. But ultimately, we had to go to a printer that was outside of Minnesota, and then we have it converted in another place. But everything's done in the United States, which is cool. And we bring all the product back here, and we warehouse everything here.
Are all of your puzzles Minnesota themed, or?
No, we have actually our first 7 puzzles were very generic and themed. Could go with anybody, but because the artists that we're working with are typically from the Midwest, most of them have a Midwest theme. And we have some that are specific toward Chicago or St. Louis as we continue to try to grow our distribution.
And how are you growing the business? I mean, is there an infinite market for puzzles? Is it a good market? Are people still buying puzzles? I just don't even have a sense of it.
You know, it's a great question. We've been growing it very organically and by word of mouth and regionally. So we've started in the Twin Cities, and then we went to Chicago, and then we added the Minnesota as a whole, the North Shore, and now we're in Wisconsin, and this year we're just pushing into Iowa.
And is there like a toy fair that you go to and show your wares and then people order?
We haven't yet. I did with Cross Crib. I went to there's a toy fair in New York that we went to for a number of years. We haven't with the puzzles yet, because so many of our images are specific to this region.
Sure.
We've just been focusing on doing sales ourselves in this region.
Is it a full-time business for you?
It is very close to a full-time business.
So
we're you know, it's funny. That was always the dream. Even when I came out with Cross Crib, the dream was that, you know, I'm going to be a game manufacturer. But ultimately, I've had a full-time job, and it was in advertising, and then I was doing marketing consulting on my own. And we have now just seen the revenues of the puzzle business surpass the revenues of the marketing consulting business. And so in the last couple of years, we've actually shifted our focus on the puzzle business, and we're trying to grow it to the point where hopefully it'll stand on its own
for the family business. That's
for the
excellent.
family business. Yeah,
excellent.
It's fun.
And does Candace work in the business too, the ultimate puzzler?
She does. So we're a good team.
Okay, because I worked with my husband, and that even had its own set of entrepreneurial challenges, not only as being an entrepreneur, but working with your spouse all the time.
You know, it's funny because we both have a marketing background, so we both love the product development and the idea of bringing products to market. And I'm kind of an outgoing guy, and I like doing the sales.
Mm-hmm.
She's more of an introvert, and she hates doing the sales. And I don't really care for doing the numbers as much, and she's okay doing the numbers.
So you're uniquely situated. That's great.
Yeah, so it's been working really well for us.
When you first did, let's talk about what is the name of the cribbage game?
Cross crib.
Cross crib. Thank you. I'm having a weird day where I can't remember anything. Cross crib. How much money did you invest in that product when you started?
Well, yeah, we did that, which would be considered a shoestring budget according to the industry. But for me, it was everything I had, actually more, because I had to borrow some money from my grandfather. But we put about $12,000 into it.
Okay. And what does it cost to make a game typically? Is it about 12 to 20 grand?
Well, yeah.
Or it can be more?
If you talk to some people, I mean, to bring a game to market, they'll spend $150,000.
Mm-hmm.
We did everything ourselves and tried to keep costs as low as possible, and we were lucky to be able to bring a game to market at that price at that time.
Have you made money on it?
We have, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And does it still sell? And
it does, which is actually, they say that the gaming business is more difficult than the restaurant business.
I was going to ask you about that. Like, this is a space that seems very competitive because from a puzzle standpoint, you're reselling someone else's idea, but you are creating or someone else's art, but you're creating the twist to it.
Yeah. I guess the gaming industry, they say that there's like one in a million that will be a Pictionary or a Monopoly,
right?
And a typical lifespan of a game, and I guess a jigsaw puzzle for that matter, is similar to a movie release. It'll come out the first year and get some notoriety. The second year, it'll peak. The third year, it starts to tail off like a bell curve.
Yep.
And the fourth year, it disappears. And we definitely saw that with Cross Crib, where the second, third year, it definitely peaked. But then we leveled off. We kind of got lucky in the sense that we have a cult following of people that really enjoy the game.
Yep.
And we're able to do a production run every year. Now, again, it's not enough to support a family.
Sure.
But it is a nice product to have in a product line.
Yep. And so how many people work for Puzzle Twist now besides you and Candace?
Well, we don't have any employees, but we're surrounded by a village of wonderful people that we hire on a contract basis.
Okay.
So we have a couple sales brokers that are working in other states. And we have a couple designers that we hire on a contract basis. We have a couple people that help us with fulfillment and warehousing. And then we're working with like over 20 artists. So.
And on the weekends, are you doing this or at night? I mean, you're still doing your advertising job or?
No, actually, well, the marketing job is my own business as well.
Okay, so you can schedule your clients and.
Yep, and I would say if you're gonna break out the time on what we're spending on the puzzle business versus what I'm now doing on my other job, it would probably be. I would say 70% on the puzzle business, and Candace is pretty much 100% on the puzzle business.
So did you ever worry like, oh, this is our family business and I don't know if we're going to be able to pay the bills? But have you ever been like that, or did you always have the consulting business that you could fall back on?
Yeah, I mean, when I first started the game business, I was working full-time at an ad agency. Mm-hmm. And then when we did start the puzzle business, we kind of viewed it as if it was going to be a continuation of this hobby business, of the game business. Mm-hmm. And we didn't know where it would go. And so we were still banking on my other business for providing the bread and butter on the table. So I never really had. We've never extended ourselves out. I've never taken a loan
ever.
Well, other than my grandfather.
Sure. Yeah.
And we've grown slowly. And so I mean that's that's been a good lesson for us. There was one point when I was selling Cross Crib, and we got in with a company called Learning Smith,
Mm-hmm.
and they were national,
Mm-hmm.
and they were selling our game nationally, and we were getting huge purchase orders, and it was the peak of Cross Crib of the peak of sales for us, and they had put in a couple really big orders in the October-November timeframe, and so they were supposed to be due around December 1st or so, and I hadn't heard anything from them. And so I started calling them, and they were avoiding my phone calls. Well, then I heard through the grapevine that they were actually going bankrupt, and they did go bankrupt, and they almost sunk the company. And so that was a good lesson for us as far as trying to keep our distribution diversified, not have too much in one basket, and
Right.
have controlled growth.
That must have created quite a bit of worry for you, laying there in bed thinking, "Oh my gosh."
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
It did as a young entrepreneur and not knowing what to expect. But I think it was a good lesson and good for us to have experienced that now, because we know how to handle stuff a little differently as we go forward.
How do you market?
It's interesting. I mean, when you're a small business, we don't have the budgets to be able to put out ads and spend huge money on advertising at this stage. So a lot of it is word of mouth. Our second year in business, we started doing a ton of craft fairs, which is actually us getting out to the consumer and talking to them one-on-one and being able to explain the product. So that's one way we've been doing it. Another thing that we've done was we started to sponsor jigsaw puzzle contests.
Yeah, I noticed that you did one for the St. Paul Winter Carnival.
Yeah, which is the largest jigsaw puzzle contest in North America, which I didn't even know of until we started the business, kind of.
Yep.
And it's right here in St. Paul.
And how many people participate?
So there's 72 teams of 4 people each that participate in the jigsaw puzzle contest, and so it's 300 and some.
And the winner quickly assembles the puzzle most quickly. Is that how they're gauged?
Yep. So we do a count. It's really fun because we develop a puzzle specifically for the contest, so nobody knows what the puzzle's going to be, and then we do a countdown from 10. And when we get to ready, set, go, 1, ready, set, go, everybody rips open a brown paper bag, and these teams of 4 race to see how quickly they can complete the puzzle. And so there's a lot of energy, and there's some people that are really serious and there to compete, and then there's other people that are there to just enjoy the experience and enjoy putting together a jigsaw puzzle.
What did the winner get?
Though it's almost the winner more so gets bragging rights
of being the fastest puzzler.
But the Winter Carnival is nice. They do go out and they get a lot of gifts from local breweries.
Sure.
They'll get gift cards to this, and they'll give them a gift basket. But I don't think there's any real monetary gift. I've been giving them out. The Winter Carnival's known for their buttons.
Yes.
And so I give the winners a button that says that they're for the first 3 places, their first place in the Winter Carnival Jigsaw Puzzle Contest for that year. And then we give them a certificate that's usually signed by the artist and myself, the artist that did the puzzle.
How many puzzles are you doing a year?
It varies. Typically, we're doing around 7-8 puzzles a year.
Okay. And when you, Adam Turman is the muralist in town that recommended you, so we'll talk about him for a second. When you see his art, do you know, that's a puzzle just waiting to happen, or how does it evolve?
Oh, that's a great question, especially with Adam. He's a screen print artist.
Yes.
And so he uses minimal colors. There's 3 or 4 colors. And one of the things that people look for when they're looking to do a puzzle is oftentimes something with a lot of colors.
Okay.
Now, the nice thing about Adam's art is he has very hard lines, and it's nice to have hard lines in a puzzle because they're easy to pick up on. But it varies because, 1, the image has to be something that's appealing to people.
Yep.
But then 2, there has to be enough detail in the image that it's going to be enjoyable to assemble. Nobody wants to assemble a puzzle that's just all blue sky with one bird.
Right.
And then we add the element of trying to add a twist. And so we have to have an image that actually lends itself to one of our concepts.
Can you give us an example of one of the twists that you've done? I guess you gave us one already about the snow.
Yep, that's called Something's Amiss. And so with Something's Amiss, and that's kind of our feature line. What's going to happen is any puzzle you put together is going to have a certain number of changes that we'll just hear that'll appear or disappear or change that's unexpected.
Okay.
We have one puzzle called Minnesota Spirit. And in the lower left-hand corner, you'll see Ole and Lena. They're all bundled up for winter, and Ole's holding a snow shovel. Well, when you put the border together, when you're actually doing the puzzle, you're going to find out the season has changed. It's no longer winter, it's summer.
Oh.
And so as you continue to do the puzzle, you'll realize, well, Ole and Lena are not dressed for winter anymore. They're dressed for summer. And as opposed to Ole holding a snow shovel, he's holding a fishing rod. And so it's intriguing in a sense when you're doing a jigsaw puzzle because it's a puzzle within a puzzle. You're trying to figure out, all right, I know it's summer. What's going to happen to Ole and Lena? Oh, okay, here's a fishing rod. I bet you he's holding a fishing rod as opposed. And so
fun.
You have these aha experiences while you're going along and doing the puzzle, and that's what makes it a little bit more fun in that aspect.
Are there local people that carry the puzzles, or do people order them online?
We do both.
Puzzletwist.com?
Puzzletwist.com is our, if you want to order them online. The majority of our puzzles are sold in brick and mortar, and we're sold in Games by James. Yep. We're sold at the Woods. We're sold in a lot of independently owned Hallmarks like Evenson's Hallmark or Jane's Hallmark. Mm-hmm. The General Store of Minnetonka.
I love that
Good
store.
Things in Woodbury. The Bibelo.
Yep.
So there's a lot of neat independent retailers, specialty gift retailers that carry the.
All right. Do you go by like head puzzler? What's your title? Tony.
Yeah. It's it depends what I'm doing. Sometimes janitor.
Yeah, exactly. Does your wife call you Mr. Puzzler?
No, she just, she's, that's an ongoing discussion in the family because she's actually the jigsaw puzzler.
Right.
But
so she's the puzzler, and that would make you the
I don't know.
Creator of puzzler.
Yes, the creative.
Creator. Creative genius. That's what we're calling you, Tony.
I like it.
Tony Nelson, creative genius of Puzzle Twist. So as you grow, you're looking to be world dominating in the puzzle business.
Wouldn't that be neat?
I love it. Yeah. Do you have other games too? You said you kind of like the game space. Do you have other games that once?
I have other games that I haven't brought to market though. We are looking at other products to bring to market.
Uh-huh.
It is. It's very difficult to bring a product to market.
Yep.
And so one thing that we just did last year with Adam Turman is we just did some playing cards.
Oh, yeah. He brought me a set of playing cards, actually, when he came to visit.
Very cool. Yeah. And so that's fun. And this year is actually going to be the 20th anniversary of Cross Crib. So we're coming out with another version of Cross Crib, the 20th anniversary edition.
All right. Well, I will put a link to Puzzle Twist on our Facebook page, and hopefully people will buy puzzles from you and figure out the twist. You have a very unique story. You're the only puzzler in the state of Minnesota that I've ever talked to. So you got that going for you. Are you the only person here making puzzles?
I think there are some novelty puzzles that are made by some souvenir shops.
Sure.
But as far as I know of, that's our only business. Yes.
And puzzling with a twist. Well, thank you for being on the program. It was super fun to talk to you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, you're really funny, and I enjoy hearing your story.
Thanks, Stephanie.
All right.